Vice President Kashim Shettima unveils Nigeria's plans on food security at Food Systems Summit in Rome. House of Representatives moves to broker peace between resident doctors and federal government as President of the Senate advocates constitutional role for traditional institution.
There is no politician that wants to be anything in this country that does not visit the traditional father to pay homage.
Plus, flood prediction, Ibadan becomes latest city to experience natural disaster.
There's no warehouse we can use. There's no alternative place we can park.
Good evening. Welcome to NTA Network News. I'm Cyril Stober in Abuja, and joining me from Lagos is Hingino John Adams. And remember, you can join this broadcast live on our website, www.nta.ng/live, and on other social media handles displayed on your screen. Vice President Kashim Shettima and other heads of state are participating in the UN Food Systems Summit in Rome, Italy, for the first stock-taking moment summit with the theme Transforming Food Systems for People, Planet and Prosperity. Meanwhile, the theme for the high-level session is innovative financing for food system transformation, the case of Nigeria, and the side event on scaling up multi-stakeholders collaboration and investment in the implementation of food systems transformation pathways in Nigeria. The event is organized in collaboration with the Rome-based UN agencies, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, the International Fund for Agricultural Development and World Food Programme, as well as the UN Food Systems Coordination Hub and wider UN system. Speaker, House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas has appealed to resident doctors in the country to suspend their proposed industrial action while finding a middle ground with government for meeting their demands. The Speaker made the appeal following a meeting with members of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors at the National Assembly complex in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ikpen reports.
This meeting, at the instance of the Speaker, is to avert a looming strike by the resident doctors who had issued a 14-day ultimatum to the federal government. The Speaker views the disposition of the doctors to dialogue as a display of confidence in the capacity of the legislature to intervene and resolve the lingering demands. These include payment of the 2023 Medical Residency Training Fund and upward review of consolidated medical salary structure. He acknowledges their sacrifices in the health sector and assures of realistic resolutions.
We commend you for this and assure you that we would deploy every legislative instrument available to us to ensure that you are fully compensated and rewarded for this act of patriotism. We urge you as leaders to appeal to your members to suspend any action while we interface with the executive arm of government. We equally seek your understanding on the fact that a new administration just came on board and still in the process of settling down as ministers are yet to assume office.
Now we are being asked again to wait for 2 weeks. We are leaders of the association and we are going to communicate this request to our members. Of course, they take their decision. The truth is that we would have preferred if they're able to resolve 1 or 2 issues that we highlighted within a dot, because we believe that those issues can be resolved in a matter of a day or 2.
Meanwhile, Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, in an audience with the National Council of Traditional Rulers, says Nigeria will be a better country if traditional rulers are given their pride of place.
Some were permanent secretaries, some were leaders of the private sector, who after serving their motherland decided to come and accept traditional titles.
The Speaker restates the commitment of the 10th National Assembly to be more responsive to the needs of the traditional institution in Nigeria. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikpen, NTA News.
And in the meantime, the 10th House of Representatives says it has identified 13 major areas that are requiring urgent legislative attention towards good governance. Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, stated this at an agenda-setting meeting with relevant stakeholders in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
It was a critical engagement to facilitate an empirical examination on the issues contained in the legislative agenda of the 10th Assembly. They include national security, women participation and inclusion in politics, as well as the constitutional and electoral reforms.
I think that when people get to a point where they become really frustrated and incapable of coping with the challenges of living, it is not quite clear what the consequences would be.
Our overall goals are job creation, higher foreign exchange earnings, new skills development, diversification of exports, and strengthening and deepening our technological foundations.
Speaker Tajuddin Abbas advised the members of the House of Representatives to have functional interactive offices in their constituencies.
We can never overemphasize the fact that citizens' engagement is the fulcrum of a representative democracy. It is only through such engagements that legislators will become truly representatives of the people.
Other issues deliberated upon were advancement in innovation and technology, anti-corruption. In Abuja, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
A constitutional role for traditional rulers mixing modernity with tradition in Nigeria's constitution has been a subject of interest since the return of democracy in 1999. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, during an engagement with the National Council of Traditional Rulers, says giving them a constitutional role will help curb insecurity. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that a delegation from the World Bank also met with the President of the Senate to discuss Nigeria's economy.
The custodians of Nigeria's culture and tradition are on yet another advocacy visit to the Senate to facilitate their lawful recognition as advisors in matters of nation building. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says this time the legislature is thinking to bring on board people with ideas in tackling national challenges.
Without intelligence and information, you can achieve only limited success in any operation. The traditional father is a reservoir of information. Everybody runs to the traditional. Sometimes we pretend. There is no politician that wants to be anything in this country that does not visit the traditional father to pay homage.
Up to 1979, we had our constitutional rule. But in 1999, these rules were being set aside.
When we are now carrying out our function in our various communities, we are working with confidence. We have legal backing us on that regard.
Every problem in this nation cannot be resolved by politicians. It can be resolved through the collaboration of politicians and traditional rulers.
Also at the office of the President of the Senate is the country representative of the World Bank, where they discuss financial lifelines from the organization to Nigeria, meant to cushion the impact of the recent economic policies, such as the removal of fuel subsidy.
We have to diversify the Nigerian economy. There won't be a monoproduct economy, so we can make money from various sources. We have vast agricultural land, which we need to tap, which we still need a lot of investment. We have the mining sector outside crude oil exploitation and exploration, and we've not even touched the maritime sector.
To help Nigeria realize its full potential. The World Bank, as you may know, is really a development cooperative, and Nigeria owns the World Bank, is a shareholder of the World Bank, like 189 other member countries.
One of the recent approvals by the World Bank to Nigeria is the $800 million loan facility for the National Social Investment Program. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, says the federal government is aware of the current economic situation in the country as a result of fuel subsidy removal, and it is making efforts to provide palliatives to cushion the attendant effects. The SGF was speaking when he received traditional rulers from Idoma land in Benue State. Kenneth Nanim reports.
Traditional rulers led by Ochi Idoma from Idoma Kingdom, Benue State, are the latest visitors to felicitate with Senator George Akume on his appointment as Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Appreciating the traditional entourage, the SGF was explicit on the federal government's decision to put the economy on the right trajectory.
The panel has been assembled to reform the tax regime. The whole purpose is to make the business environment more friendly and therefore to attract investment. If you look at the appointments he has made of service chiefs, again he has reflected our cultural diversity.
Ochi Idoma eulogized the SGF, saying he is a unifying force in Benue, the North Central Zone and beyond, and expressed confidence in his capacity to add value to governance.
Is the ultimate unifier that promotes the democratic principle of fairness, equity, and minority consideration plus inclusivity.
The traditional rulers prayed for the success of the SGF and the present administration. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
The House of Representatives has refuted reports that its leadership is under external pressure to constitute the standing committees of the Green Chamber. The House, in a statement by Deputy Chairman Special Ad Hoc Committee on Media, Ugo Chinyere Ikegwanu, urges the public to disregard rumors of undue influence in the appointment of chairman and deputy chairman of the various standing committees. The House notes that the selection committee, headed by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, has one member each from the 36 states and will do a fair, just and competent work without any external influence. The House assures that Speaker Abbas takes cognizance of the interest of all 360 members in the selection of lawmakers that will head the various committees. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says the best way to improve the electoral process is by stock-taking, review and evaluation on the previous exercise. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu said this while meeting with civil society organizations as part of post-election review meetings with critical stakeholders. Timothy Yusuf reports.
Another review meeting of INEC with critical election stakeholders, the civil society organizations taking their turn. Purpose is to improve the future conduct of elections and to consolidate the nation's democracy. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu expressed the Commission's appreciation to civil society organizations and development partners for their enormous support to the Commission during the 2023 general election.
We were meticulous in our preparations for the election, and there have been many positive developments in this regard. One area is the repeal and reenactment of the Electoral Act 2010 into the Electoral Act 2022.
The INEC chairman, however, corrected an impression in some sections of the public that the Commission received huge sums of money from development partners for the election.
And for the avoidance of doubt, the Commission did not receive any direct funding or cash support from international development partners. Rather, their support was totally indirect through civil society organizations and implementing partners working on elections.
Over the years, I have noticed that the recommendations that we put into our report are taken on by INEC, and this has brought about some of the reforms we have seen in our electoral process.
So far, only 67 observer groups made up of 62 domestic and 5 foreign have submitted their observation reports, representing about 30% of the accredited groups for the 2023 general election. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
We'll take a break now. The news continues after these messages. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. If Africa must grow and be competitive, it must produce people who can identify the skills gap and meet market demands. This is the focus of a workshop on skills apprenticeship system as experts meet in Abuja under the auspices of Sub-Saharan Africa Skills and Apprenticeship Stakeholders Network, SASANET. Olayinka Uju reports that the theme of the workshop is Skills and Apprenticeship System in the Development of Sub-Saharan Africa.
During its regional workshop in Cotonou, Benin Republic in February this year, SASANET saw the need for Africa to stop the importation of foreign skilled labor to reduce billions of dollars spent on foreign labor force. And here, they are pushing the agenda of informal apprenticeship. Since Africa is at a crossroad, as it is seen as the world's poverty continent, the time to skill up, train and develop youths with skills to meet indigenous demand as well as meet export demand is now.
So that future industrialization of Africa shall be facilitated with products of this sector.
And in the next 2 days, these stakeholders are expected to examine issues around financing apprenticeship, employability and productivity, as well as occupational prospects for young people in sub-Saharan Africa.
To promote improvement of the learning, monitoring, and evaluation processes, and identify decent work deficits and avenues to address them.
Ensure equitable participation, sustainable development, and empowerment of youth.
That our youth would have the benefit of not running away from the country, but they will have wage employment or self-employment.
With TVET among the 5 top priorities of the present administration, promotion of harmonized agenda on skills and apprenticeship for sub-Saharan Africa and Africa at large has become necessary.
NCS is working towards addressing skills mismatch between labor market and graduates and harmonizing the various policies of skills in Nigeria.
Let's look at those things that are working. We don't need to reinvent and see how to scale it up, widen the scope, and if, of course, bring innovation.
For the stakeholders, the economic prosperity of any nation is dependent on technical and vocational education, and this can be achieved with proper funding and government support. Olayinka Uju, NTA News.
Nigerians have been encouraged to remain peaceful and law-abiding as governments at all levels make efforts for effective implementation of palliatives to cushion the effects of fuel subsidy removal. This was when the Confederation of All Progressives Congress Support Groups engaged party members in Abuja. Salihu Gwanara reports.
Tough time never lasts, but tough people do, says an American motivational speaker, Robert Chula. Inspired by this saying, the Director General Confederation of APC Support Groups, Kailani Mohammed, acknowledged the challenges Nigerians are going through and appealed to Nigerians to be more resilient while embracing current administration's policies with potential to sustain and promote good governance.
With this emergency now established just about a week ago in the agricultural sector, it will boost agricultural products. Very, very soon there will be enough food to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal. The only thing we are saying is that those operators in the agricultural sector will be steadfast.
Nigeria is on a pedestal of self-rediscovery.
Leaders of political strategic movement and Beautiful Women Confederation of APC Support Groups promise to take the message of patience and hope to the people. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has launched a new strategy towards tackling activities of human traffickers. This is coming as the agency commemorates its 20th anniversary since its establishment. Amina Baba Suleiman reports.
In its 20-year existence,
NAPTIP has seen different coast and desert continuing to witness the telltale woes of human trafficking and self-inflicted slavery. Nigeria has a big burden and huge scars in this evil enterprise, having been rated as a source, transit point and destination country for human trafficking.
They killed fowl, they use it to rub my body. I don't have an option. I take an oath that if I should try going back, I will die.
I said, no, I'm not going to do any prostitution. No of my family have done it. I will not be the one to start it. And he said that if you don't want to accept, do you know who we are? We are Romagas, and we'll hold you. 5 guys here will sleep with you.
The stakeholders here see the 20-year struggle against the tide of human misery as a call for more vigor in rowing the victims to the shores of hope and ensuring better measures in reducing the incidences of the forced march to slavery.
It is simply to raise awareness around the world on the issues of human trafficking and its impact on the people and the society. I want to say to you all that you are great and you are survivors.
We are all here in solidarity. This is the reason why NAPTIP was set up, to protect you.
Giving them the forum to express themselves, to encourage other people who are actually going through what they are going through, to let them know that it's not the end of life. You can be what you want to be and not what somebody else wishes for you.
The theme of this year's commemoration is From Pain to Poetry, empowering survivors through artful stories. In Abuja, Amina Baba Suleiman, NTA News.
The federal government says it will utilize all the potential of biotechnology towards improving the national food security using the media, which are critical partners in the adaptation and acceptance of the new technology. This came to the fore as scientists under the Biotechnology Development Agency interact with the Guild of Editors in Abuja. Musa Aliu reports.
The pen, microphone and the camera are described as essential tools in agricultural extension. This therefore makes the media a reliable partner in the innovation introduced in crop production. And this is why the Guild of Editors and Scientists are in this hall discussing the impacts of genetic engineering on crop production. Professor Abdullahi Mustafa says farmers in Nigeria are already maximizing the potential of genetic modified crops.
I have the great confidence that the collective efforts of editors in Nigeria can significantly contribute to the responsible and effective communication of agricultural biotechnology. Your work can empower our citizens to embrace and appreciate the potentials of biotechnology in shaping a brighter and sustainable future for our nation.
The Director Agricultural Biotechnology Department, Dr. Rose Gidado, says editors have a role to play in shaping public opinion and disseminating information. The training and equipping the editors with relevant information on the technology, she says, are paramount.
Let Nigerians have the confidence that the GMOs that we're regulating, the agencies that we're regulating, and the ones that come into the country that we see, we have been able to certify them safe.
We communicated to the people effectively.
The managing editor of the northern operation of the Nation newspaper, Yusuf Ali, says his perception about biotechnology crops changed after attending the workshop. Nigeria is among the African countries that adopted genetic engineering in food production with strict guidelines on the protection of human health and the environment. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
Let's now join Hingino John Adams in Lagos to bring us more news from that zone. Hingino.
With the growing participation of Nigerians in the digital space, there is need for data access control to prevent leakage into wrong hands. This is why the Data Protection Act was signed. The Nigeria Data Protection Commission is engaging key players to ensure compliance with its framework. Larry Bilei attended the session and now reports.
Protection Act is to protect Nigerians in the digital space as they provide sensitive medical, IP addresses or biometrics to organizations in private and public sector. The Act make it mandatory for this organization not to cross the line in divulging data to third-party requests. Participants are provided with the tools required to establish appropriate data protection and framework for the benefit of the data provider.
Data subject gives you data. The data subject wants to be sure that you are capable of protecting the data, and if there is a breach, that there is also the means of accountability. So that is the essence of the law.
The Act was signed only just last month, and it's now the responsibility of each organization, whether you're government, whether you're a private sector, to ensure that you have the data protection officer, to ensure that you are within the data protection law.
The workshop also dealt with issues such as security architecture and roles of data protection administrators in organizations.
The first thing it made us know that once your data is being tampered with through external forces, the first thing for you to do is to let those people that own that data be aware that there is a theft on the data, but assure them that you're on top of the game.
Others are data regulations, audit and compliance, and enforcement mechanisms. In Lagos, Larry Bileyi, NTA News.
Talking health now, as the present administration continues to roll out its plans for the actualization of the renewed hope agenda in various sectors, Nigerians have called on government to equally beam same light of hope on the health sector. Correspondent who spoke to some Lagos residents and medical experts tells us more.
The Nigerian health sector is challenged with manpower depletion resulting from the exodus of medical experts to other parts of the world. This is not good for the country as it poses great risk to the health needs of citizens. With the Tinubu-led administration's proactiveness already attracting admiration from many, some Lagos residents say they expect to see the same energy directed towards the health sector.
I think government should basically increase their salary so that they will be able to stay.
Medical Director, Lagos University Teaching Hospital, commended government's effort in revamping the health sector.
We have many policy documents that beautiful ones. Well, we need to implement them to the letter. We have National Health Act. We have newly signed about a year ago, National Health Insurance Authority Act. We also have a Basic Healthcare Provision Fund.
Experts believe that if the problems facing the health sector are addressed, medical tourism will also reduce.
The government should prioritize retention. How can we retain our doctors? You know, Nigerians excel anywhere in the world.
Just recently, government expressed determination to achieve its healthcare reform agenda by prioritizing universal health coverage. This, many believe, will change the exodus of medical experts to influx of health workers in Nigeria.
Time for some messages, but before then, do not forget that you can follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen. Musa will be back with business news after the break.
You're still watching NTA Network News. Let's now bring you up to speed with business development. As the federal government takes steps to mitigate the impact of petrol subsidy removal on Nigerians, the World Bank has expressed confidence in the capacity of the states to deliver targeted assistance to the most vulnerable segments of the society using the Nigeria COVID-19 Action, Recovery and Economic Stimulus Platform.
Now that there are increase in prices, there are now that food has started costing more, transportation has started costing more, everybody is feeling the pinch, you can be sure that it is the poor and vulnerable that will feel it more. In fact, those who are even not poor before are likely to now fall into that basket, and they needed to be supported. So the state level, the local government level, clearly seems to be the best place
where that can happen. And I think the structures that the states have currently that they are using for NG cares can actually help them to do so.
So the removal of fuel subsidy and the palliative that are coming in the wake of it are some shock responsive mechanism that the NG care structures, being state government structures, have capacity to manage, while the federal government will continue to retain its monitoring and oversight responsibility over how the funds are being disbursed.
Let's now talk energy. Oil prices climbed about 2% to a 3-month high on Monday on tightening supply, rising U.S. gasoline demand, hopes for Chinese stimulus measures, and technical buying. Reuters reports that Brent futures rose 2% to $82.69 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 2.3% to $78.81. That puts Brent on track for its highest close since April 24th, and WTI on track for its highest close since April 19, and pushed both contracts into technically overbought territory. There's a positive close for investors at the end of the first weekday of trading on the Nigerian stock market. The share index climbed 0.41% at 65,268.28 basis points, as investors gained 144.2 billion naira. A total of 831.5 million shares in 9,768 deals valued at 12.9 billion naira were traded. Today's data shows 8% improvement in volume, 9% decline in turnover, but 10% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 35.5 trillion naira. Meanwhile, the naira at the INE foreign exchange window advanced by 1.83% to close at 792 naira 4 kobo to a US dollar, while the NAFEX declined by 2.51% to close at $772.35 kobo to a US dollar. That concludes business news. Cyril, is over to you now.
Thank you, Musa. Pursuant to its commitment to making the highways safe, the Federal Road Safety Corps has, within the second quarter of the year, covering the period from April to June 2023, apprehended a total of 8,592 traffic offenders for committing 179,165 offences. A statement by the Corps states that in the same period, 64,544 drivers were educated, 5,431 motor park rallies conducted, and the Corps organized 1,950 community visits to consolidate on existing enlightenment campaigns. In the same period, the Corps intensified its enlightenment and sensitization campaigns by conducting 286 television and 2,431 radio programs to reach the mass population of the motoring public. The Corps Marshal Dauda Alibiu, reacting to the data, urged the motoring public to always heed to established traffic regulations and avoid all behaviors that could trigger crashes on the roads. A devastating flood has wreaked havoc at the Olodo area of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, with many stranded on the road. Ifeoluwa Mosule, who visited the area, filed this report.
Free flow of vehicular movement was disrupted at the Olodo area as residents managed to have access to the other side of the road through a small part of the bridge, which is beginning to cave in. A part of the bridge which leads to neighboring communities was under construction before the downpour, which lasted 4 hours. Residents therefore call for government's attention as they envisage that continuous rain will wreak further havoc.
Collapse of the bridge has affected our community by putting a stop to every movement, to everybody's movement, both the pedestrian, the drivers, everybody, all the road users.
There is no way else we can use. There is no alternative place we can pass.
Some rescue teams have visited the area to assess the level of damage.
It's a very sad situation, and I believe that the governor of this state, the executive governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, is not going to be happy with it too. So I want to assure you, I want to appeal to the community that they should be patient and be calm.
Residents of Olodo community are optimistic that succor will come their way as soon as possible. In Ibadan, Ifeoluwa Omoshile, NTA News.
Troops of the Nigerian Army, in conjunction with Anambra Vigilante Group, have destroyed camps of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and its armed affiliate, the Eastern Security Network, in Anambra West local government area. A statement by the Army's spokesman, Brigadier General Onyema Umachukwu, says the troops raided the camps on Sunday, the 23rd of July. During the operation, the troops recovered one AK-47 rifle, one AKMS rifle, 3 Lexus SUVs, and 2 motorcycles. In a similar operation, troops also raided IPOB camp in Anambra South, where an IPOB fighter was eliminated in combat, while another was captured. Several arms and police uniforms were recovered from the criminals. What Nigerians want to see is a responsible Nigeria police force that can react to complaints by members of the public, a police force that respects the human rights of the people they work for. This is the charge from the chairman of the Police Service Commission, Solomon Arase, to personnel as he speaks on measures to reform the force, with security correspondent Francis Form in his office.
The issues have always... Before his appointment as the chairman of Police Service Commission, the relationship between the Nigeria Police Force and the Commission was not cordial. Their frustrating relationship is traced to the issues of recruitment, as to whose responsibility it is to conduct a recruitment exercise. Chairman of the Police Service Commission, Solomon Arase, said this is needless to Nigerians and that the Constitution empowers them to collaborate with the Nigeria Police Force in terms of recruitment, promotion, discipline, and policy formulation. You want to see a police force that elicits, that aura of respect, and they are able to win the hearts and minds of the people. That is the police force that we are looking for. So whoever does what, the end goal is for us to have an efficient and responsible police force. Meanwhile, to encourage hard work, commitment, and dedication to duties, Chairman of the Police Service Commission has decorated his technical special assistant with the rank of an Assistant Commissioner of Police.
Honest. The Commission under my leadership remains committed and will work closely with the IGP and the police management to ensure regular promotion of deserving officers.
Dr. Arase charged officers and men of the force to key into the quest for excellent service delivery, professionalism, and hard work. Francis Form, NTA News.
More reports after these messages. And President Bola Tinubu has eulogized the first female professor of Yoruba studies in the world, Professor Omotayo Olutoye, for her important contributions to the Yoruba language, culture, and tradition, saying her works and seminar interventions helped in deepening the knowledge and understanding of Yoruba language. Aged 87, she was the wife of retired Major General Olufemi Olutoye, the Alani of Iduani in Ondo State, and mother of renowned surgeon and pediatrician Professor Olurotimi Olutoye. In a statement, President Tinubu expressed his sympathy and condolences to the husband of the deceased, General Olufemi Olutoye, the Olutoye family, and Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu. The President said Professor Olutoye's works have kept the Yoruba language alive and flourishing. And that concludes the Network News tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Cyril Stober. Good night.